Good day and welcome to another episode of The Couch Coach. I'm your host Faisal Jacobs. In studio tonight we have three gentlemen from a very well-known, huge area, my hometown, where I grew up, shall I say, of Mitchell's Plain. We welcome Jovan, Ryan and Mark to studio. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. So I see you guys are wearing these t-shirts called Unchain the Plane. What is this all about?
Thank you, Faisal, for having us. Unchain the Plane was formed because of guys that grew up in Mitchell's Plain. Some of us are still there, and we wanted to keep fit by starting playing some tennis. And then we realized that there could be more to than just playing tennis, and that's when we realized that we have a community that sport is challenging for them as kids. And Unchain the Plane was then formed as an initiative to get kids to play again.
So when you say challenging for kids, I'm assuming you're meaning there's a lack of sport happening.
Yes. There's 47 primary schools in Mitchell's Plain with 20 high schools. And what we have found is that there's no sporting equipment. Sport as a medium to the holistic growth of a child has become silent in our communities. Hence the formation of the organization. And we all love sports, and we grew up playing in the streets or wherever. And so that's where we went about,
Yeah, I think maybe the first point that we need to make, Faisal, is that it's a registered NPO. So we are registered with the Department of Social Development. We registered the beginning of November. We got our certificate, but none of us work for the organization. So we all, with the exception of one, we're all government employees. So I work for provincial government. Ryan is a teacher, he's a deputy principal at Lantana. Jovan works for the National Prosecuting Authority. Rayfield Martin is a sub-council manager in Mitchell's Plain. And then my brother Gavin is a legal person. So we don't work, we've got full-time jobs. This is something that we do after hours. So I think that's number one. The second point in terms of why we started this organization. If you look at it, sport is non-existent in Mitchell's Plain, especially at primary school level. And we don't want to mention it every time, but with the gangsterism and drug problem in the area, it's a reality. I mean, children can't play outside anymore. Our open spaces have been claimed, our streets have been claimed. I know back in the day we used to play in the streets all the time. Now they can't do it. So the best place for children to play is actually at school. And that's what we are about. We at the moment, we are collecting second-hand sporting equipment, even new equipment, because some people provide new equipment. But we are using that equipment, and not only the predominant sports in Mitchell's Plain, because we're looking at rugby, soccer, tennis, cricket. Those are the predominant sports. But we're looking to expose children to hockey, basketball, any other sport, golf, for example. SAPS is running a golf academy in Mitchell's Plain. We want to expose children to all kinds of sport and physical activity. So the idea is we take this equipment. If there's a need to refurbish it, we will put on new grips, we will restring the rackets and so on. But we'll then hand it over to a school. And there is an application form that schools can fill out. I think we've got a letter ready, Jovan and Ryan, that will go out to all the principals. I think Jovan mentioned there's 47 primary schools in Mitchell's Plain. So we can't get to them all at the same time, but hopefully we'll have a program for the year. We've already done 2 handovers, but a bit more about that later on. But the idea is to then start with certain schools where there's already activity. Like we chose Woodville and Lantana because they already, I know JP is doing some work in Mitchell's Plain with the cricket. So there's already activity and we're just supporting, we're augmenting what they're basically doing. But the main thing that we want to do is to run interval program. If you go to a primary school and children of 8 and 9 years old, if you put down mini cricket wickets or soccer poles or cones to play rugby, they will play. I think as adults, we're not doing enough to create that enabling environment for our children to play. And even at home, because children can't play in the streets. I mean, I've just heard now one girl in Tafelson, killed in crossfire.
So,
So parents don't generally want their children to play in the streets. So whilst we were playing in the streets, they playing soccer on the TV. So that kind of sedentary lifestyles brings other concomitant problems like diabetes, for example. Our children are obese, they're not playing. So we want to
very
create.
coordinated. They're not very coordinated.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Poor motor skills and those kind
Yeah.
of things.
So we want to create that environment for children to play. So number one, we've got precociously talented children in Mitchell's Plain. If that child, if his or her parents are not by the means to buy sporting equipment, they stay away.
Yeah.
So we want to give them that equipment. We want to go to schools to manage interval programs. That's the idea. Even physical education, like we
Yeah.
knew at PT.
Mm.
We want to give them hockey sticks and cricket bats to play around with. And in that way, we want to instill that love for sport
Yeah.
at an early age.
That's right.
So,
Yeah.
Awesome.
There's a chip in there, but from the physics perspective, if you look at, I'm a physics qualified guy, so if you look at the history of sport and our national athletes, we see most of them come from schools where there's a well-developed physical education system in place. Right, so what we want to do is by getting the equipment to the schools, we're now saying, listen here, you now don't have to just take a ball and go kick as a physics lesson. You now have equipment. You now have hockey sticks. Teach the kids how to play with that ball, how to hold that stick to grip. Right? Hockey, of course, can be cross match with cricket.
Yeah.
We know John T. Rhodes play national cricket and hockey
and hockey,
because the skills can cross. So yeah, the idea is promote this physical activity both in class, physical class, during interval, and after school. After all, children needs a space to express its energy.
Yeah.
And with that, we find that school discipline improves.
That's for sure.
Right? So there are other spin-offs from what we are doing. But our main aim is to try to focus on those particular areas where we can assist the schools.
Okay. Any thoughts in terms of, and I'm just thinking, and we're trying to find out how this works, but let's say you do a drop-off at a school. Are you assisting teachers there or that to have the skills necessary to help the kids?
Okay, what we can do, what we've done thus far is, the schools that we've identified, we know there are
there's
people
the existing.
in the school. But we also, one of our focus areas would be development, skills development. And we are busy setting up a major coaching clinic for rugby.
Nice.
But as Mark said, JP21, we network with other people. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We're not trying to take ownership of everything that's happening. Right? We are keen. The municipal golf development, all our golf equipment goes to them.
Awesome.
So we're not going to try to do that.
Yeah.
They have the skills, the
supporting.
specialist skills for that.
With you.
And two of us, rugby and cricket. Two one is soccer. Right? So we hit on those skills, and we can, and by all means we can. If schools say, listen here, I've got a couple of teachers here that's interested in coaching soccer or rugby or cricket. We have the resources or the manpower and the skills to coach them, to teach them. Listen here, we can set up a workshop. After that, you can go back to your school and you can start coaching the kids, rugby, cricket, soccer, whatever the case may be. So yes, that is one of the things that we want to do.
So another question for you, Ryan, as an educator. The kids today, and we see it a lot in our communities, our previous shows that we've done, where sport isn't that great within the community. There seems to be a direct correlation between the lack of sport and the academic performances. And you touched on it previously, discipline as well.
Yeah, I can maybe answer that, Faisal. I was fortunate enough, when I was at university, I did my thesis on the impact of sport on education. Now there's empirical evidence everywhere. Sport has a positive impact on education. Even my study results showed exactly the same. Sport teaches discipline, compassion, perseverance. Everything you do in sport, there's calculations involved. If you're doing a free kick, you have to calculate the wind and whatever. So sport has a positive impact on education. And the old cliche, if your child is in sport, he's out of court. We know it because we grew up in the gang-infested area. Sport is what kept us going.
Yeah.
So children that participate in sport normally have better motor skills, have got all the other attributes that sport teaches you, and they normally do better.
I think in my view, one of the biggest benefits of it is the social skills.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
also like
Absolutely.
I think, that
Teamwork.
we find that those, if you play sport in a team setting, when you start working, it's much easier for you to work with other people.
yeah.
Because from the first day that you start playing, you have to learn what is my role in the team, right? And what is the end goal of the team? It's not my end goal; it's the end goal of the team. So you get into a work environment, and you now find it easy to adapt. Those playing with the individual sports struggle a little bit more, right? However, because of the coaches, they expose all of that. Just to come back to the teaching, your concern there was where there's a lack of sport, the performance levels are also lower, because the converse is of course true. Where there's adequate sport facilities, adequate physical education, the results are much higher. And yes, it is the case. At my school, for example, we have started to put in place processes or programs to boost the physical activity. Right? The donation at Unchain made to Lantana Primary came at a very timeless occasion. Perfect occasion because we are just in this process of boosting it. And there come a couple of equipments now we can take it further. And again, that child that is struggling with his maths, right now, he gets confidence of playing soccer, confidence of doing well on the cricket field. That confidence is taken into class. And of course it then improves his discipline. If his discipline is improved, then clearly he's going to perform better with his books as well.
For sure. Thank you so much for that. We've got some bills to pay. Please stay tuned. We'll be back with you shortly. Get Jovan some water over here. We'll catch you in a bit. See you soon. Welcome back to the couch. I'm your host Fazal Jacobs, and in studio we continue our conversation with these gentlemen that is on a mission to unchain the plane. The name Unchain the Plane. How did you come up with that?
Well, Faisal, initially we asked the community of Mitchell's Plain, we're about to start something like this, what would they have it? And we had 4 names, and the overwhelming response was Unchain the Plane. But also there's an understanding that you would know that way back in the days, the primary school's fencing was about 600 meter out. The education department has now brought that fencing closer to the building of the school, which means that in a small area you would have 1,000, 1,200, and with Imperial Primary 1,900 kids in a confined space. So what it means is that we are chained. We are as if we are in prison. Going out on the streets to play soccer, football, whatever, rugby, touch rugby, you either get shot or you get harassed or you get robbed. So we realize that we're on our own and nobody's coming. We need to, from within, bring about the unchanging of our kids, of ourselves, of our mental state, hence the name Unchain the Plane 7785. Let Mitchell's Plain go, whether it's by design or whether it's by what's happening in our community. We're not going to delve into that because that's a political conversation on its own.
Sure.
All we know is that our kids needs to be free. They need to run. They need to enjoy life.
What I'm loving is you're taking ownership of the situation yourselves, and it's you're not being held hostage. so to speak. And I love the name. You were also mentioning there that so it's sports equipment that you guys collect. There's a coaching programs that you share with. Is there anything else that Unchain the Plane is involved with?
Okay, so in terms of our constitution and our profile document, there's 4 main streams. Doesn't mean we can't do anything else, but those are the 4 focus areas, core focus areas. So number 1 is the collection of sporting equipment, mostly second-hand, that we refurbish and we give to schools. That's number 1. I think the second one is to reclaim our open spaces. So we want our own equipment. Besides the equipment that we're giving to schools, I'm an accredited rugby coach, he's an accredited rugby coach, Juven is an accredited soccer coach. And we've got access to other people as well that is in coaching, different codes. So we want to go and just put down equipment, choose any open space, under supervision, come and play. I think back in the day we had that come and play. No? I think Ryan worked for come and play. So we don't want to reinvent the wheel. If there's organizations with similar objectives, we will then augment whatever it is that they're doing.
I think collaboration you can achieve so much more.
Absolutely, but I mean we want to go to an open space or a soccer field or a rugby field where it's now dangerous and under supervision allow our children to play. Give them burps, put down cones, wickets, whatever we can do. So that's number 2. I think the third one is coaching clinics because we want to give these guys access to professional coaching. We want to impart technical skills because the big difference in rugby, for example, is that the Model C schools, and not Model C schools, but the elite rugby schools, they've got prep schools. Those guys know the technical
meal plans,
everything. They know exactly what they need to do in a specific position because they impart that kind of technical knowledge. We want to do exactly the same. So we want to call coaching clinics at specific schools, invite coaches, invite kids from different schools, and just impart technical knowledge and teach them about the different sports. Also tournaments. Ryan is busy organizing a mini primary school tournament, like under 19s. That's where you get the parents, under 12, 13 maybe, and we identify certain sporting codes and we do tournaments. That's what we want to do. And then the last one, which we're all very passionate about, is community outreach. Any impoverished community, we want to reach out and we want to take care of our own people. Juven said it, nobody's coming to help, not even the politicians. So we have to take ownership. Incidentally, over the weekend, we did Louriesfontein. Which is in the Northern Cape. So a lot of people said, why Louriesfontein? These people that's struggling in our own province. And the reason why we identified Louriesfontein for the first one is because if you drive through that town, the level of poverty is much greater than what we experience. Unemployment is high, the prospect of getting a job is very, very low. So we spend a bit of time in Louriesfontein. We drove 1,000 kilometers to donate food and some gift packs to children. So that essentially is what we're doing. I mean, Juven and Ryan can add on to it.
No, that's fine.
Tell us about that.
Tomorrow afternoon, we're going to a friendly center. And we're going to spend some time with the elderly there. You know, we've got the small gifts to take to them. But we're going to spend time there as well. You know, so for now, we're still getting the cricket stuff, but it's a Christmas period, it's a festive period. So we in that, and we're trying to spread the joy, you know. So that's part of our community outreach, which we at this point in time focusing a lot on.
And next week we're doing a shelter for abused women and children. So even there we're handing over some school shoes, stationery, clothes for the kids, gift packs. So I think next week is going to be a big one. That's in Athlone. That's also outside of Mitchell's Plain. So we're not just the collection of sporting equipment and distribution. That's only in Mitchell's Plain. But the community outreach we basically do all over.
Wherever you can get.
Wherever we can make a change.
Oh, for sure.
We mooted the idea of doing handovers now because at the moment we are storing all the equipment in my place. And I can tell you, we have enough to do about
Is your
2 or
wife
3.
okay with that?
Not too happy. We have to make do, but we're quietly confident and optimistic that eventually, as Juven pointed out, we will have our own little warehouse. In fact, somebody offered to give us a container. We just need to find a space to put it down. But we have enough equipment, but we don't want to hand over now. We've done 2 to Woodville and Lantana. We're ready to do in January when the schools reopen, because now nobody's going to use the equipment.
Yes, for sure.
So, when the schools open, there's a focus on athletics. We gave some athletics equipment as well. So in January, we're doing Imperial. In February, we're doing another school. We haven't identified that school. So that's the plan moving forward.
Okay. So how, in the ideal world, because the viewers out there, they're going to be generous. Right? How often do you want to hand out the sporting equipment? And I think you, if I recall correctly, you're still identifying the dominant sports that the kids are going to like. It's not about you imparting, okay, here's the rugby, here's the cricket, here's the soccer, those are the big ones. You're still identifying. Is anything standing out? Is there any specific equipment that you're looking for or needing?
I think firstly we have to say that in an ideal world, we would want to do it as often as we can. But also we don't want to give everything out at one moment. And then we have a dry period for a while.
Yeah.
So we're looking at giving it at least 1 per month. 1 per school month. So we're looking at 10 schools for the year.
Yeah.
But of course, if there's more equipment, then we will be doing more handovers. Right? If that storeroom doubles up overnight, we have to get it out.
Yeah.
There's no use we keeping it. We want to get it out there. As soon as we get it, we want to try to get it out as soon as possible. Like I said, at least once a month. But if the viewers are more generous, the more we can get, the better.
But if you do the number crunching, it's going to take us 5 years to reach 47 schools, primary schools only. In Mitchell's Plain. So ideally, if we get in enough equipment, like Ryan said, we can increase it to maybe 2 a month and then reach maybe 20 schools a year, because it's not a once-off thing.
Yeah.
We did Woodville. I've been in contact now with the sporting coordinator. She already told me, listen, there's additional stuff that we need. So the idea is it's a long-term relationship. We want to go back, check how they are using the equipment, because we give them an inventory. They sign for it. We want to see the condition of the equipment, how they're using it. Do they need additional equipment?
Empowering them.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's not just a drop and go.
Yeah.
It's not just as some people do, a media hype thing.
Yeah.
No, it's about change. It's about partnering.
Yeah. It's a sustained change.
Yes, it's about partnering. It's about knowing that the name Unchain the plane, 78785, must become synonymous with development. If you're saying that if a school wants to be part of this, they must know that they have to bring their part as well. You're not going to come, there's a whole lot of bags, go play with it. If it's broken, who cares? No, we want to see that those 10 balls we give you, that 10 balls must make an impact on your learners.
For sure. Gentlemen, we are sadly running out of time. We've got about 2.5 minutes left. As has become customary on the show, if we could start with a brief message to the viewers out there, to the kids out there, before we close. And also, contact details, how people can get a hold of you.
I think if I can start, Faisal, if Juan can just turn around, there's a little writing at the back of that t-shirt.
Give it to you.
So, we just want the viewers to see. It says fostering a culture of caring and giving. So, in essence, that is what we want to do. We want to show young people especially that there's people out there that actually cares, and we want to do certain things and we expect nothing in return. And hopefully, in their mind's eye, it will live on for a long time, because eventually we would want them to pay it forward to other individuals as well. That's the message that we're trying to get across.
Awesome. Anything specific from you, Jim?
From my side, I would like to say that there's a definitive nexus, a link between giving and then receiving. I think both the Bible, the Quran, everybody that ever wrote something inspirational would indicate that it is more blessed to give than it is to receive. And so we are saying we know what it is to go sleep with little, and in return we might have a little bit more, but we would want to share that with everybody, because what we do on this earth, it will echo into eternity. So let us give. Let us, if we have more than enough, even if we don't have, let us make sure that our neighbor has something.
It's
Yes,
the
sir.
pastor speaking.
Nah.
Ryan?
Yeah, at the end of the day, I did Hugo Primary, and that's where I started playing rugby. And when I went to high school, two of the boys that played with us, they were a bit older. And when I was in standard 6, grade 8 now, they dropped out. The one became a bad boy, the other one became an American. The American killed the bad boy. The year before that, they played in the same rugby team. I always say this, rugby literally saved my life in Tafelsig. I could easily have gone the other way. Even my own brother was killed on the streets of Tafelsig. He also chose to become a gangster, right? Whereas we, on the other hand, we were never interested, because from early on we were involved with sport. Played rugby for school in the week. Over weekends we played soccer. Mark still played for Rio. We played for Queen's Park. On a sandy field on Tafelsig. Just sand.
Yeah.
No grass.
But you
just
played.
sand.
Yeah,
You
we
play.
played.
Yeah.
Right?
Sport.
So sport is the way to go.
I think, firstly, gentlemen, we've got it up.
Alright.
And well done, an amazing initiative. Please keep in touch with us, keep it going. And I think, I speak for everybody in this room, and even the viewers out there. I mean, sport has shown us over and over and over again how it can impact, how it can make an impact on the world. This year alone for South Africa, as big as I am an All Black supporter, South Africa was united again with the Bokke winning the World Cup. Second time this has happened. You had the Blitzbokke winning now. And all of this, if you have a look on social media, it's making a difference
Ice hockey.
for people. Get out there, support this initiative. If you've got any equipment that you're not using anymore, that's too small, that your kids have outgrown, get in touch with these guys. The contact details are up on the screen. Let's help make a difference in a child's life. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you next week.